Today is June 2nd, 2021. This is the Kubernetes CSI implementation meeting. Let's go through our release status, starting with 121. I think we're mainly just waiting on some failing CI tests. Well, it looks like everything is cleared up, so maybe we are good there. Okay, cool. So I think it seems like our CI issues are all fixed. We can consider 121 done, I think. All right, awesome work. Moving on to 122. We have a couple test failures and bug fixes that are being triaged. Looks like all of the host path tests are failing in our scalability test job. After upgrading to the latest sidecars and host path driver version, Patrick is helping with some investigation there. I think he looked at one failure and he is suspecting that the driver is getting evicted from the node. I think it also looks like there's the health monitoring is being throttled. I'm not sure.
Comment or old comment? This one. I think this is old comment, I believe. The one that is CCing me. Old issue, right?
Old, like 8 hours ago.
Oh, 8 oh, okay. Okay, I'll need to check. I thought this was the very old one. Maybe not. Okay, let me take a look.
Okay.
What is this?
Yeah. Anyway, it looks like the health monitor is getting throttled, but I don't know if that would actually cause the driver to be evicted. But anyway, so I think that's still under investigation. I think Patrick's trying to add more log collection so that we can debug this further. But yeah, we should keep an eye on this. The failures seem to coincide pretty well with updating this host path driver.
Can you, who is the, hold on.
Yeah.
Can I go back to that issue?
I'm sorry?
Can you go back to that? This is okay, this is a Kubernetes. Okay, all right. Got it.
All right. Let's see. Next up is the force detach.
I think we have what is the date that starts at? Is that the 6th? Did he say June 6th? Did he say he will cut into what is the June 6th is a Sunday. Well, I thought he gave a date last time saying that by which date he want to cut the
June 7th, I believe.
7th? Okay, so next Monday.
That's what I recorded.
So yeah, so I'm trying to, I got my test bed is broken. I'm trying to get a test bed ready to test this, but in any case, I think maybe Michelle, can you take a look of the cap? Basically, I think the most important thing is to, if you take a look of the cap and see if that makes sense. Basically, I referenced this 2 new parameters that Ben has added. Just see if that makes sense in that overall flow, in that cap. I think we basically want to know like how we are going to use this, right? Before we merge in this, I guess that's the question. So is this
Shane, did you want to have a specific meeting about that where we just get together and figure it out?
No, I was going to, so this is already added in the cap. So I'd like Michelle to take a look and just to see if that makes sense. If the cap is okay to say this is how we are going to use this, right? Because I think that's the question is not just looking at this CSS spec change by itself, but look at how we are calling it.
So the cap, you mean the shutdown cap, right?
Yeah,
No
yeah,
shutdown.
yeah.
So I
Did you take a look recently?
yeah, I left a few questions
Oh, did
there.
you? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll take a look. I didn't know anyone has reviewed it recently. I think
Yeah,
updated
yesterday.
quite a
Right.
while ago. So let me take a look. So I just want to see if if it looks okay, like the general flow, maybe not the details, but at least how we are going to use this for the force detach. Does that look okay? Then maybe we can come back and see whether we can merge this or not. I think it's okay, but I like others to take a look of the overall flow just to see how they fit together. I guess that's my.
Okay, sounds good. I'll try to take a look today as well.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you. All right. Next up is marking the volume uncertain when detach fails. I think last time we said we need to rebase the PR. Is that that we're waiting on?
Is this Young's? Oh, this mine's. Oh, sorry. I still need to rebase it. Sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Because Young has another one also related to uncertain. That one I reviewed, and there was a question by Amount. So we're thinking how to kind of handle that. Yeah.
This is for when unpublished fails or unstage fails?
Right.
Yeah, I think I will do like 2 functions to get mounted volumes and get all volumes for a pod or something like that. And I will see how far I can get with that.
Yeah, it's after adding uncertain, the way how we handle volume added and volume deletion from the jar state might just handle differently. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. All right. Next up, let's see. We talked about the shutdown cap. Next up is the race with the Orphan Pod Cleanup.
Yeah, so we discussed this last week. I tried changing the remove call to just rmdir and found that that it's basically once the orphan cleanup function is called, that folder is never empty. So when I made that change, it was failing consistently. So I'm taking a slightly different approach and trying to do a recursive rmdir on just the volumes directory, and then use remove all on the remaining subdirectories under the pod directory, if that makes sense. So I'm going to try that out and test it and see if it works. And if it does, then I'll open up a PR and see if there's any way I can improve it.
Okay. I would maybe even think, do we know what, do you know like what are all the folders and files that are left? Are they all just empty folders?
They are not. There's containers, there's a etc-hosts file, there's a plugins, and then the volumes directory. So I looked through those. Most of those, like they typically have subdirectories underneath them, and the containers folder has a file in one of those directories. So that's what I was saying, because it's not just it's not just the volume directories from the CSI driver. Sometimes they can be from other drivers, and yeah, so I don't like, even under the volumes directory, there's going to be a folder for each driver that typically gets left behind. So ideally, if the volume gets unmounted successfully, it should just be directories, but there could be a few subdirs. And then there's typically a file under one of the folders in the containers directory.
Okay. Yeah, then I guess, a custom function to delete things safely, I think sounds like a good approach.
Okay, cool.
Cool. Thank you
Just
very
want to-
much.
Just want to confirm the reason those files left behind is what amount didn't successfully, or
The problem is that the orphan pod logic assumes that if a pod has a termination period and the volume directory is cleaned up, then it assumes that the volume will never come back. But in this case, we have that issue in the desired state of world where we can add the volume back to desired state of world after we've removed it. So it's possible that after we check that the pod is deleted and the volume is gone, the volume could be remounted, and then we'll go and delete everything after that. So that's the race.
oh, right. Then it
So I
never gets.
think, yeah, so then this, I mean, it will get cleaned up eventually. But the problem is that if this orphan pod logic runs first, it's gonna delete the CSI metadata file, and that's going to cause the CSI cleanup to fail because it can't find the metadata file.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, so I think making the orphan pod remove function to handle this kind of case where to safely not just remove all under the volume directory, but potentially remove everything else, I think is probably the main way we can at least fix this particular race without having to fix the desired state of world issue.
Right. Yeah, I would also like to take a look. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, sounds good. And I think also regarding the I think there's a giant PR that Clayton is working on in Kubelet. He's like redoing the way that Kubelet manages the pod lifecycle. I think that PR is going to help solve a lot of these races that we're seeing. I'm not 100% sure it's going to solve this one, but I think it will solve a lot of other issues that we've seen in terms of like mounting and unmounting the volumes at the wrong times.
Right. So in the meantime, yeah, I'll also look at that one and see how it affects this one.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you. Let's see what else. Next up, we have Windows GA.
So yes, Mauritius PR, like the volume one is merged, and I also reviewed the disk file system. There are just minor comments, and we plan to kind of merge, I say, by this week. And we'll have a meeting probably tomorrow and see whether it's ready to have a RC card cut first, I say early next week. And then we will let people to make according changes in their drivers and test it out. Yeah, that's
Sounds
the
good.
current status. And for the binary,
Cool.
I'm also working on that. Currently, I have some issue like the binary is generated, but the the version like is right now it has no version information. So I want to add that version information in the cloud build, and so that each time, right, it can have the correct version when they upload the artifacts.
Yep, makes sense. Cool, thank you. All right, next up we have access modes.
Yeah. So as for access modes, I have yet to go back and address some of the Kubernetes PRs. I think one of them might need a rebase. There's some discussion right now on the CSI spec changes, potentially changing the tables for node publish volume and adding a column to specify behavior when customer wants to, I guess, change the capabilities or not. I think it's kind of implied when node publish volume gets called multiple times. That shouldn't be the case, but anyway, yeah. So there's, I think, review on the CSI spec is in progress, and I think everything else looks good right now. I just need to go back and address some of the comments on the Kubernetes pull requests.
Well,
Cool.
this is the Kubernetes API making the node publish requests, and so or any CO for that matter. So it's the question is the CO allowed to specify different volume capabilities for the same volume on the same node while it's published?
I don't think so, but if someone can come up with a reason maybe why we should.
I mean, it seems like it would be simpler just to sort of confirm that Kubernetes doesn't actually do this and that nobody else expects this to work, and then just declare in the spec that you're not allowed to do that, and then you're done.
Okay. Yeah,
that's my opinion.
I think the only scenario I can think of is if like someone creates two PVCs of the same pointing to the same volume. That's like the only scenario I can think of where this can happen.
Two PVCs pointing to the same volume, but then how would the node plugin even know that that had happened? Because the problem is any kind of error checking that you want to implement here has to be inside the node plugin, which has very only local knowledge. It only knows what volumes have been published to that node and their published contexts. And so it can maintain state about volumes that have been published. But if another volume comes in that happens to refer to this same thing, I don't know.
I mean, we can definitely treat that as like error. Like we can say this should be an error scenario and not supported. And if someone tries to do that, I mean, they should receive an error.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is like we do need to specify in the spec what the behavior is, but I don't know if that needs to rise to the level of like adding more columns to the table. We could just have a statement that says for any volume that's published to any node, doing another publish on the same node with different capabilities is expected to fail or something.
Mm-hmm.
You can make a blanket statement.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
Makes sense.
And I can't imagine that breaking anybody because yeah, it's such a weird thing to do. I don't think Kubernetes would ever do that.
I guess I don't know if today there's someone like, say there's like a NFS PV. Could someone create a PV pointing to the same NFS share, one as read write many and one as read write once? Today, it's very possible like a CSI driver might just ignore it, which I guess also means that, you know, even if we add this wording, the CSI driver could still ignore it and continue to ignore it, and it may still continue to function.
Yeah, the thing about access modes is it sort of defines the minimum level of access you want. And if you want RWO, an NFS share can do that. If you want RWX, an NFS share can also do that. So the NFS share is going to say yes to everything with regard to access modes. And therefore, there's no point in checking what the access mode is at publish time because it didn't matter what it was, it's going to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the access, like for NFS, access type does matter because if anyone asks for block access type on NFS, of course that's not going to work.
Yep.
Then, but that's just a static check. That's not like a dynamic check. So yeah, it doesn't matter whether it's already been published or not. It's always going to fail.
So I'll
Makes
amend
sense.
the wording on the spec and tag you in it just to get some a review on it.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much. Next we have volume populators.
There's no update since last week other than that we are not doing weekly meetings anymore. They had turned into just status meetings because all the design issues have been ironed out. So I canceled that weekly meeting and I'll just be doing status updates in these meetings. And the status today is I'm implementing the code is there. I'm adding unit tests, and as soon as the unit tests are complete, I'll push the PR to Kubernetes. And Xing has already offered to review. I'll need another reviewer.
Awesome. All right, sounds good. I'll be looking forward to that PR. This will be a fun one to do the API review on.
Yeah. It has some cool tricks that Tim showed me.
All right.
And the hard part is just going to be the huge number of tests that are necessary to prove to ourselves that it doesn't break anything.
All right, awesome. I think that's all I have tracked for 122. Next, we have miscellaneous topics. Jan has a PR here.
Yeah, so on last Wednesday on the CSI meeting, we were discussing XFS and that it needs to pass a special mount option to all mounts, basically, to be able to mount a volume and its clone at the same node. So I have E2E test for that. It tests both snapshots and clone. A review would be nice. And the major thing is, like, we agreed that the test should be optional. So I hide it behind feature $XFS, which is not that great. Do you have a better feature or name?
Hey, Yang, what do you mean by snapshot type? What is the snapshot type? What type? Dynamic and preparation, or what other type?
Yeah, yes, like
okay.
To have a snapshot with XFS, I needed to add a snapshot type and snapshot deletion policy to one of the XFS patterns, just to make sure we have something snapshotable with XFS.
Okay.
Well, this is pretty straightforward. Like, it creates a volume, takes a snapshot of it, restores it, and then runs 2 pods on the same node with both original volume and the restore snapshot. But yeah, it is optional currently with feature $XFS. I was thinking about like something that would have both clone and snapshot, and everything was super long. So if you have a better idea, then I'm open for suggestions.
Do you want a better name of the feature tag?
Yeah, because it's not really about XFS. It's about snapshots and clones with XFS.
So do we expect this is mainly a temporary thing while we go and fix the various drivers. Is that right?
Yes. And actually, I
want
looked
the
at a
test
couple
as a
of
regression test, right? Like permanently.
in the future, yes, definitely.
So
I looked at
the temporary part is the fact that it's disabled. It's a good test that we always want.
Yeah, I looked at
So-
AWS, for example, and it runs all the tests without any, like, it runs with all the features. So it will run also this one and it will fail.
Which is fine.
Which is fine. Yeah, you can disable it if you want. That's fine.
You need.
I think the main thing is we
Yeah.
need, so I think the main thing is we want this to run. It's just right now, the drivers that we're testing in CI are all going to fail if we don't have it. So we just want some time to fix all the drivers, and then we can remove this feature tag, right?
Yeah, the only driver that we test is GCPD, like at least in Kubernetes.
Yeah, I mean, considering that this is like very, I don't think so. I haven't seen any PRs. But assuming this feature tag is only temporary until we fix all the drivers, I mean, I think we can use whatever for the name. We could, I don't know, call it snapshot clone. I don't know. Snapshot clone XFS.
Data source.
This test should work. Like if driver fix it, right? This test could run on any drivers as long as they support snapshot.
Yes.
And XFS.
And XFS.
Oh.
Well, even we can
like
test this even with like just the default.
Yeah, the default
file
yes,
system,
sure,
right?
Also.
We tested with the default or well, yeah. With this PR, it will be tested for the default too. It will be tested for X4, XFS, and for the default. So there is probably some redundancy, but yeah, who cares?
That's fine.
You have test for clone as well?
Yes.
Okay.
There is a clone.
And even
you could also name this feature tag just like temporary bug XYZ.
I would probably call it volume source XFS or something like that, because volume source is both cloning and snapshots. Somebody said it here.
That could work.
Good. All right. So yeah, there is a PR. You can review it. I will just fix the feature tag.
I assume this can also work on Windows, right? The flow, like create volume, create snapshot, if the driver support.
Yeah, if we run the multi-volume tests on Windows, then yes, this should work on the Windows too, at least with the default file system. Well, yeah, okay. But why it is Linux only? I think there was a reason. Yeah, all the multi-volume tests are Linux only.
No, I thought there was a PR where we removed a bunch of them.
Right. We do run some multi-volume test for Windows too.
Maybe in some different. Here is one. This one.
Sure.
Two. Okay. I will need to check if this can run on Windows. I don't know.
All right, sounds good. All right. Do we have any more topics for today?
Oh, I do have a question. So about volume house, and someone was asking, I think basically they have a matrix for everything else, right? But the boarding house is right now it's events. So I wonder, does it make sense to also record those as a matrix? Do we need to have both events and metrics? I think for some people, they have this mechanism of like collecting all the metrics, but then this thing is kind of not in the same system. So I was just wondering.
So I think we'll need to look up and see the kubelet volume metrics we have today.
Yeah, that one is that one goes to the metrics. So do we want to add
like
it?
we might want to extend that.
Okay.
But the whole point of
main
the volume health feature was it wasn't about metrics, right? I mean,
right. But now there
like,
are. I think this is just now
metrics?
people are seeing this for different use cases. I think we still want to look at how to do reaction, right? So I think that part is still there. I was just having a trouble thinking about using this for scheduling because those are for volumes that are already provisioned. So I was thinking about that. I was haven't not thought through how to use that, but then there was somebody else. This is a different request, right? So I think this is also relevant and probably makes sense actually. So I think we need both.
Nothing stops a CSI driver from outputting all kinds of metrics that are even better than you can get through volume health.
I'm sorry?
Nothing stops a CSI driver.
No, this is not CSI. They want this one to be in the same place, right? We already have the stats metrics there in kubelet, at least in kubelet part. The controller part is new. The kubelet already has that. So we have that in our node.
Right, but this mechanism is way less efficient than like a regular metrics gathering endpoint.
No, it's the same. It's the same. Okay. Maybe you didn't really look at how we're implementing that in kubelet. We are using the same interface actually, exactly the same place. We just need to add a few more parameters. So I can look into that and see what we can do there. Does that make sense?
I think it makes sense. I think to Ben's point, one advantage of adding these metrics to the kubelet is that someone can write generic tooling to collect some basic metrics without having to go into driver-specific tooling or metric formats.
Yeah, but my worry is then the feature just becomes like a way to do standardized metrics.
No, it's already there. It's we're actually not really adding things. It's so there's already metrics in kubelet for volume metrics in kubelet.
Right.
Adding like more things. But that's
the collection mechanism for those metrics is presumably efficient, but like calling this volume health RPC is
but we are already calling it. I mean, we are using this exact same call. That's the whole point of moving that into kubelet. We are actually moving that into the same call. So right now, we are not going to add any more call, even if we are adding this to metrics. Maybe we can, we can look at this one like offline. You will see what I mean. We're not really adding anything.
The thing that makes me nervous is that we explicitly didn't design this feature for metrics. We designed it for
but this is new. This is somebody was asking for this. I think actually makes sense.
And maybe what we need is another interface for specifically that's more tuned towards metrics that could perform.
So right now, actually in kubelet, that's actually the same API. So the node get volume stats. That's where we are collecting this one as well.
Right, but I'm saying like we could have a richer CSI RPC interface if it was designed just for metrics. Like the reason
I don't know if we want to make it that complicated, since that was there before we added volume house. So that metrics part was there before we introduced the volume house. So right now we are just thinking whether we can piggyback and add this parameter there together with other metrics already collected. So that part I don't think.
Okay, is there an issue
by itself? It's just going to give people the wrong idea.
There is an issue, Michelle.
Okay,
there's an issue open
like
already.
Maybe can you link to the issue somewhere? Maybe we can continue the discussion there.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, yeah, like I think it's I think it's going to be useful to have. I don't think it's going to be anywhere as detailed as custom metrics you can get from a particular driver, but like I think it can work for just like high level general purpose data.
Yeah, there's somebody was asking, otherwise I didn't really think about this one before. So this is a somewhat open issue. Okay, so I will add that. Yeah, we can continue to talk about that. Yeah, the listing kubelet, I think, makes sense since that it's already there, really. So
yeah, I guess here's the nightmare that I see. If someone sees that we're taking the output of volume health and then shoving it into a metrics engine, someone might decide to put information in their CSI driver that's intended only to be consumed by a metrics reporting engine. And then if later we use the volume health interface the way we said we were going to do automated responses, you could trigger an automated response that you didn't intend to because you were just trying to output some metrics. And not.
I mean, but then we still need to design that interface, right? So that's, we are controlling that, right? So we're actually going, that part, I think we haven't, have not gone through the thorough design yet, like how we are going to do reaction. That's the part that we still have not reached consensus on. So there is always this message part, right? So no matter what, the message part can, the driver, if they decide to put a lot of information there, then that's always possible. It's just the reaction part. It's going to be, I don't know if it's like an error code or something that we need to, it has to be common that all the driver can depend on that, right? So that part, I think we still need to decide. But the message, it's already there, then it can be anything, right?
I guess I always presumed that we would just take the output of this and shove it into the status of the PVs of the PV, and then that would get copied to maybe the status.
Right. That actually, that's ideal. I like that. But right now, I think the challenge is that we have not really agreed on whether that's, I mean, I like to do that. I mean, just in Kubernetes, how to use that, that's the part. So I was thinking, last time, you were in last meeting, right? I think in last meeting, the decision was to, I think Michelle, it was not there. I think at the end, the decision was to look at how to use that in scheduling. But I was thinking about that after the meeting. Scheduling is really this is for the PV that it's like before that is really provisioned. If we fail to provision that, it's going to be rescheduled anyway. I mean, so I'm not quite sure that how this could help, to be honest. I thought it's really, initially the design was to, for something that is already provisioned. You thought it's successfully provisioned, then something happened. Then at that time, how does the scheduler get involved? That's so that part I still have not figured out. That's the reason I haven't done anything after last meeting. I was not quite sure because we thought about in Kubernetes, how do we do like remount? I think somebody was asking for that, but I think
well, that would be cool if we could like.
Yeah, but I think we can definitely continue to think about that. I think there's some concerns that like even I think Jean or maybe Herman, I don't know, Herman is here. Oh, Jean has dropped. Yeah, I think they all have some concerns. they think it's maybe the reason is there are different storage systems behave differently. Maybe hard to come up with a common way of doing this. I think there's somebody was working on fuse mount. Maybe this works for them, but maybe not for other type of systems. So I guess that's a challenge, right? So definitely I'd like to use this for reaction. That was the original purpose of introducing this. But right now it's just we have not agreed on how to move this into first class status field, how to use that in Kubernetes. I mean, we can move that there, but it's just how Kubernetes can react using that information.
And my worry is if we start using this for metrics, it could make it even harder to do the reaction.
Yeah. Okay. We can maybe discuss that. Just keep that. So we have all this requests. Maybe we can keep discussing that. Yeah, Ben, if you have some good idea about like how to use that for reaction other than scheduling. I know I'm still not quite sure for rescheduling.
My dream use case is to evict pods that have unhealthy volumes attached to them.
Right. I mean, the problem last time you were in that meeting, right? So I think both Jean and Herman was like, okay, it does not look like we have a common way of.
Oh, right.
But I think definitely something we can continue discussing. Even for, I was thinking even for the non-graceful shutdown case. even if we have something there, can we just based on that, something in the status, then saying that's not healthy, we can start to, maybe.
I think that's a separate situation.
No shutdown. Yeah, that's node is already shut down, but I'm just thinking.
In the non-grateful node,
could I have a combination of that, like node shutdown and then also something showing in the stat? Okay, right now it does not look like we need that actually. Okay. I think we need to talk more. If you have more ideas about like how, I think the problem is how to make this a generic. I mean, we can see really certain sort of system. Maybe we can say do this, it is safe. But sounds like there were some concerns in our last meeting. We haven't now, so we didn't really agree to use this for like remount. I think at least that's what I heard. Yeah, I think this definitely need more discussion. I definitely want to use this for reaction. That was the original idea. So okay. Yeah, so Michelle, if for rescheduling, if it's it doesn't make sense. The schedule is not going to get involved again if it's already provisioned, unless somebody says.
Oh, if it's already if the pod is already scheduled, then the schedule is not going to get involved.
Right. So because that's originally that's what this one. Oh, so what if we have PVC there, but the pod is not provisioned? Then that may be still, but that's still saying like we want to attach it. I mean, what? It's still a little weird. So we have a PVC already there, then somehow shows abnormal, and then we are trying to use have a pod to use that, and then we have the pod sees that it's abnormal, and then what do we do? Reschedule, but then the volume is already there. Then are we supposed to delete that?
Yeah, I think
it needs to be weird.
It is a little weird. Probably, if we try to write down the scenario or use case, maybe that will help.
I can maybe write down more. I think last time we thought about using this for rescheduling, but I was thinking about that. I just think does not make sense for rescheduling. It's already provisioned. If it fails, right? If you're doing the provisioning phase, if something failed, it's going to retry anyway. It's not going to really rely on this house status.
Yeah.
So seems like it's not really adding any value. But anyway, maybe you need to write down more of those cases. Maybe even for those like mount cases, even we think we don't have a good solution. Maybe we should write down. Like even if it's like a partial solution, how does that work? Maybe as a starting point, because otherwise I feel it's kind of stuck. So what I see is right now there are several people actually want to use this mostly for local PV. They want to use this, but then since this is not in the status, this is in events, so they ended up having their own thing. Like Nick says, they implement a CRD for this. So he was the one who initially started this, and he couldn't use this because there are events. But then since this is not like it's not like we are in Kubernetes have a controller that is doing this reconciliation. So Sad was saying, then we need to think about this first class case first before we actually think about like third party situation. So that was anyway, I think we need to think more.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, if there's like a document that's sort of summarizing the sort of state of where we are, maybe all the different efforts and links to those issues, that could help.
Yeah, I started doc last time. Maybe I need to put more details. Yeah, I at least know a couple of like last time there's a Twitter also. They want to use this, and then they have the same situation, so they probably have to do something themselves as well. So yeah. Okay, so let me actually maybe write down more details in that doc. Then maybe we can come. Maybe we should have a meeting. Maybe a smaller meeting, not maybe I'll invite you, Michelle and Ben, Jean come on, so in that meeting we can talk about this again.
Sounds good. All right. All right. I think we are over time. Thanks for staying late. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.